This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
We talk about it on the show really frequently and how the cost of healthcare is not going down anytime soon. And I feel like every time you turn around, whether you are, on Medicare, Medicaid, or regular insurance, it turns out they don't want to pay for things that they've been paying for the past 10, 20 years. I feel like that's only going to get worse. So how do we prepare for these high-stake medical costs?
Well, it comes down to planning. People that are most concerned about what the impact financially might be if they have a need to pay for out-of-pocket health care are the ones that have witnessed either family members or friends who've been through that spend down at a substantial amount at a very accelerated rate of maybe spending $15,000 a month, $20,000. We have a family member that is paying just over $20,000 a month currently, and they'll be out of money in about a year. And they've been in a while, and they had a 7-figure savings account, and that depleted pretty fast. So what we try to do is when we work with folks and we're looking at the comprehensive plan and taking into account their investment strategies, their income planning strategies, their tax planning and estate planning, well, a backup strategy that should be incorporated is what do you do for taking care of out-of-pocket health care? Because there are tools and techniques that we can employ without the need to buy your traditional long-term care insurance, which is quite expensive for many folks. And for those who've paid for those policies for many years, many of them have canceled them because the premium increases have skyrocketed. And so there are ways that we can leverage the same dollars in the plan with the new tools that are out there and create more value out of the same dollar that will pay for health care. And there's what's called hybrid policies that allow you to get more value out of the same policy and not pay the expensive cost or the premiums for just a focused benefit, which would be long-term care. And we educate clients that are good candidates for this, and we show them and employ the planning analysis accordingly in their numbers so they can see what can they create in the form of value for the out-of-pocket healthcare event if it arises. And that derails more retirements than anything I've seen. And it's something that I think should be a discussion at least, and have an awareness of what could happen, what are the possibilities. Mm-hmm. And then we can look at, what are the tools and techniques and strategies that might be available for your personal situation, because it will change the retirement landscape financially if one spouse ends up in that situation. And, you don't have to be old sometimes to need out-of-pocket health care services. And, it could be a stroke, could be somebody falling down and needing rehab for an extended period. I have a client that in his early 60s fell down. He could not live at home anymore. His wife could not take care of him because the injury was so bad and his rehab wasn't working at the level they needed it to be for him to be self-sufficient or get care at home. So they're almost out of money because they've had to pay for so much out of pocket at a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that'll wipe you out. And again, it just goes along with that conversation of how crucial it is to start planning and preparing for, that rainy day. It's really easy for all of us or most of us to sit here and go, that's never going to happen to me. Or if it does, I'll figure it out then. Or I'm so young, nothing's going to happen to me now. I need to worry about it when I'm 80 and 90. Well, not necessarily, guys. Things can happen literally in a blink of an eye. And this is something that you need to kind of have this conversation about now. And if you're wondering, okay, what about these hybrid policies? What about these different tools and strategies that David's talking about here so we can prepare for long-term health care? We can prepare for that out of cost that's needed at that time. This is what we'll do today for the first 5 callers. Not only will we do a portfolio analysis for you, but we're going to do a retirement forecast that literally shows you how long your money will last you if and when these circumstances arise, and what David can help you do when it comes to filling in the gap and creating more income for that out-of-pocket expense. Again, we'll do that portfolio analysis and that retirement forecast. That phone number, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. You can always get more details on the website at masteringyourwealthradio.com. Now, it is, I guess, tax season. I've been getting together all my documents for my accountant and making sure I've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. And along with taxes, especially when you're preparing for retirement, you want to be tax efficient, but you'll also get this really nice letter in the mail that says, hey, by the way, Uncle Sam wants his money. It's time to start filling out and doing those RMDs. Lots of folks have been receiving those statements as of late. Therefore, they're calling you, David, going, first of all, what the heck is an RMD? Second of all, what do I need to do about this, and how can you help me?
I'll tell you, the required minimum distributions can be painful for folks in many situations. If you've saved a significant amount of your money in your pre-tax retirement accounts, when you turn 73 or 75, depending on your year of birth, the government's going to force you to take a minimum amount out of those plans, whether you need it or not. And so for many people that we work with, especially with the federal government employees that are living through retirement on their Social Security and pensions, they have their TSP plans that they don't really need to touch. And so all they do is keep compounding, growing bigger, compounding the taxes. And then the RMDs kick in at age 73 or 75. And now they're forced to take in this income that in many cases they don't really need at the time. So what does that what happens is you start claiming more income every year, which could push you into a higher tax bracket. Your Medicare Part B premiums could be impacted by that and become more expensive. And there's some other tax adjustments that could take place that could cost you more out of your savings. So when we do these retirement forecasts, what's really nice about that is we can compile with what you're doing today in your numbers and look into the future with what that might look like, and determine if there are any problems that lie ahead. And one of the things that we do see and can quantify is what the RMD impact and the tax impact is going to be if you don't do anything different than what you're doing today. And so now we can have that tax planning conversation and discuss how does forward-looking tax planning look in your numbers. And if we re-diversify how you're investing your money from a tax perspective, because there should be a certain sum of money, and there's a financial formula when you understand the tax code that can make you very financially efficient in retirement by having a certain amount of money in taxable investments, a certain amount in tax deferred, and a certain amount in tax free. And so when we work out the details of this formula in somebody's personal situation, we can start showing what real tax planning could accomplish for them in lowering their taxes in the future and give them more spendable income or better wealth accumulation in their estate. And so I think it's always a great exercise for folks to take advantage of these opportunities to let us show them what will things look like in the future, good or bad, with what you're currently doing, because nobody's working off of a plan. Your best decisions come from looking at the details of an analysis into the future. And from that analysis, we can see what we need to fix today. It's very logical. It's very rational. We take the emotions out of these financial decisions that, unfortunately, people make much too often, and they, quite frankly, make very costly mistakes. So we want to get the emotions out of the decision process and what you do with your money and the decisions that go along with it. But tax planning is key. Not too many people I see have a forward-looking tax strategy. They have what's called a tax deferral strategy, and all you're doing is compounding your taxes to a future point in time when you don't know when the tax rates are or what they're going to be or what your deductions might be, and whether, in fact, you're going to have to pull out more income than what you need to live on. So creating the awareness of what can be done differently to make improvements to your financial plan is very important. And I think people should take advantage of the opportunities we provide them to do these analysis, whether it's the comprehensive investment analysis or the forecast analysis, because they can only get better clarity when they go through that exercise with us and then have opportunities that they didn't think were available to them that we can implement and show them and quantify those benefits and features in their own numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's crucial right there, as you just mentioned, using your own numbers. And that's something I want to stress to our listeners here today. If you come in for this tax analysis and this forecast analysis, David's going to sit down with you and use your actual numbers. This isn't just some kind of, work through example where we're using Mr. and Mrs. Smith's numbers. No. It's going to be your numbers so you can literally see on paper in black and white, this is what your taxes are going to look like. And of course, you talk about forward thinking with taxes, David. I think a lot of folks think, all right, between January February and I guess March and April, I should be really thinking about taxes, obviously, with that deadline of April 15th. But in the reality, whether you're still working or in retirement, you need to be thinking about taxes all year long. I mean, this is something that you need to be kind of checking in on. What can you do better? What can you do different? Are you coming up on that RMD age where you need to start making some decisions? And when can you start having these conversations? If maybe you're 70, 73, it's not too far away. So again, tax planning is key, as you mentioned here. Having that tax plan, knowing that Uncle Sam's in your back pocket, but you're going to give him as least as you possibly can. If you want to come in for that forecast analysis and that tax analysis, we'll do it for you today. That's 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. That website, masteringyourwealthradio.com. I know a lot of folks like this where for some reason they literally never take their vacation days, those PTO days. I don't know what they're waiting for, but essentially they are leaving these vacation days on the table. A recent study by Flex Jobs Work found that while 82% of American workers had paid time off, nearly 1 in 4 didn't take a single vacation day in the past year. Maybe it's from heavy workloads or manager expectations or even the company culture. So if those nearing for retirement, if they can't even take a full week off of work, don't you think it's more of a burnout issue or a retirement readiness issue? Or I guess maybe it can be both, right?
Yeah, I mean, this question gets to the heart of something many people don't want to admit. Retirement isn't just a financial event. And, we see plenty of clients who are financially prepared, but emotionally and mentally they're stuck, and you want to have those two come together. You want to be financially ready for retirement and emotionally. And it makes the whole transition to retirement so much more enjoyable. And if someone can't unplug for a week, it's often a signal that retirement feels threatening. It's not a free feeling, so to speak. And so I was working with somebody not too long ago. He had the numbers. His planning worked out beautifully. Financially, he was set. But he hadn't taken more than 3 consecutive days off in years. So he wasn't sure how to take so much time off. So when we asked what retirement looked like to him, his answer was pretty honest. He said, I don't know. Who am I without work? Because that was his life.
Becomes your identity at times, yeah.
And he liked the structure. He liked the purpose of what he was doing. And he wasn't burnt out. He was just uncertain about whether that timing would have worked out emotionally for him. And so, financial readiness gives people permission to step away. So you want to have a financial footing that you're confident with and comfortable with. Emotional readiness gives people confidence to enjoy their retirement. A lot of people who are confident with their money don't have the financial anxiety that a lot of people have, because when you have a plan, this is what's so important about having a financial plan. It gives you validation that you can spend your money and how much of it, and build in other things that you want to plan throughout the years of your retirement, whether they're some big items down the road, whether it's taking vacations with the grandkids or renting a villa in Italy for 3 months or whatever the case might be. And we can plan for that. We just want to see if it's doable, and we run the analysis. And so that's why we just don't plan income and investments. We walk through what a typical retirement week might look like. I always suggest that if somebody's going to retire in the near future, practice it first before you actually make that final decision, because you may find that once you retire, you didn't really make a good decision, and then it's too late. And, a lot of people want purpose and structure, and that will change when you leave a job. So you might have some other purpose and structure that if you envision things that you have as far as hobbies and things you might do. Some people can transition very seamlessly from the work field into retirement because they have interests. They have things that can be part of their day, their structure and purpose of, getting up and doing things, but just things that are different. And so whether income stability feels real or theoretical, we can make that work with planning. That's probably the biggest challenge people have, is creating a paycheck when they're no longer working. I think that creates a lot of financial anxiety when people are no longer getting a paycheck. How do you create one from your own resources? And we, quite frankly, get a lot of calls from folks that are in retirement, and that's one of the main things that they're looking to get help on.
Just the way you say it is, creating a paycheck, right? How do I do it? I mean, in my head, I just immediately see you like as a magician going, and bippity boppity boo, you have guaranteed income for life. But that's not how it goes. I mean, there's a planning process to it, right?
There is. It's got to be well thought out. It's just like building a house. You know, you want to work off of a plan, so you end up with a type of home and without the unnecessary expenses and delays that would go along without a plan. And a lot of people are on a plan of hope. You don't want to have a plan of hope when you're in retirement, because usually when it falls apart, it's too late to fix the problem.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interests of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure of the ADV 2A Item 4 for additional information.